Call Coco. Yeah. No, no. You see what I mean?
Good, Coco.
She's good.
Good.
Yep. I mean, we're lucky there's a barrier there. And the reason I want to show this is that for people to understand, I mean, that could be a really huge Rottweiler, etc. Look at that. Very dangerous situation. Put the ball away, bring out the meat. You know, and most of the time they wouldn't even be on a line. So this is where compulsion, can you see? The drive from the dog. This particular dog is so much that she would go, you know. The reality for me is that positive and negative is the best total educator. Consequences of behavior. If you stick your finger into a beehive, you will get stung. And guess what? You'll remember not to do that again. What is happening all too often is people are tiptoeing around fixing real problems, where a dog can run into a farmer's field or run into a dog that's going to bite them. We must show them the consequence. So we have a young Coco, very boisterous.
Good. Good girl. Good.
And we're just working on recall.
Good girl.
Recall is so important. Now, the whole concept of recall is, from the dog's point of view, why should I come to you? What's going on
Good.
with you that's better than any of this stuff that I could be sniffing? So let her wander off. Just leave her for a moment. Ignore her. And she'll start doing some crazy stuff, chasing her tail, doing whatever. And you just keep walking off, keep edging away. Totally distracted. Call her now.
Good girl. Yes. Good girl.
You know, so that's the positive side of it. But what I can assure you is that if there is a distraction that is of a greater value, so another dog, you have a problem. So if the food isn't of interest because the dog is oversaturated, which happens in a lot of pet homes, they've eaten before they've gone out to the park, so they don't really care, or they don't have a great food drive. What else can we do? So again, let her wander off. So you can, if your concept is positive only, you can also bring out a ball.
Go here. Go here. Good girl.
Let her play with it. She wants to be around you. Happy days. And the reason we're starting to show you all of this is that our training is always predominantly positive. But there comes a point where the consequence of lack of compliance must be introduced to help make it absolute in the canine's mind that if we're calling you and we're trying to reward you, and then you grow past that and you start misbehaving when we know that you know fully well what to do, we will introduce a consequence, compulsion, that would help educate you on why it is important that you listen to your parents. And it's the same with human parents. When I was growing up, when I was in school, if my parents said, go and use your BMX out the front, and just ride out the front and be back in at 7 or 8 o'clock, when I did that, there wasn't a problem. When I decided to ride, a mile away, and my parents checked on me outside and I wasn't there, and I came back 2 hours later than the agreed time, there was a consequence. And the consequence could be a real harsh telling off, or taking away the the BMX completely. The same with drink driving. If there wasn't a negative, people don't care. They would drink drive. The same with raping women. If there wasn't a negative, a consequence, and people say, well, aren't you're being a bit harsh here. We're talking about a dog not recalling. No. We're talking about a dog that potentially could be running up to a family that's terrified. And especially breeds like German Shepherds, Dobermans and Rottweilers, they can claim all sorts. That the dog was acting dangerously out of control. They were intimidated by the dog. That's one scenario. Another scenario is when the actual canine puts its life at risk by running into the middle of the road because it's not listening to you, or running into a farmer's field. Many of you probably don't realize the Farmers Act allows them to shoot your dog on sight, regardless of tampering with sheep. So listen to what I'm saying. They can, pull out a gun and shoot your dog just for being in their field. So when you're hearing all these, it's only positive. What I say is this: it is beautiful to be able to work only in positive processes. It is the most lovely thing to be able to do, but it is not realistic in all circumstances. And that's where we need to understand the merit of the implementation of compulsion. So of course you do your best, especially if you love animals, to educate them and reinforce that education and reward it. But to stop them from ending up in rescues that ultimately will get them killed, or from them actually acting out in such a way, like running in front of a car and being run over, I would sleep well at night if I had to use compulsion to educate that animal so it prevented itself from getting into hot water. I would sleep better at night. So positive, and we develop that. The interesting thing is, under distraction, what happens? Same puppy now, and the puppy's here on, so move slightly further back. So they've seen another dog, and she's gonna have to control this dog with positive only. But the leash, the dog is off leash. Drop the leash. Yeah. Yeah, call Coco. Yeah. No, you see what I mean? She's good. Yep. I mean, we're lucky there's a barrier there. And the reason I want to show this is that for people to understand. I mean, that could be a really huge Rottweiler, etc. Look at that. Very dangerous situation. Put the ball away, bring out the meat. And most of the time they wouldn't even be on a line. So this is where compulsion, can you see? The drive from the dog. Without that gate or barrier there would have been an incident where, it would have been negative for both owners, for sure. So now we've fit an e-collar on, okay? And this is for her own good, right? Pick up the line, take her all the way back, okay? Where is your the remote? Hold that in your hand. So the same thing. So this young female would get herself into a world of trouble. Frightening people. She's the type of young dog that will go and snatch a little Pomeranian out of the park. Wireless control. Because then the option is they say, your dog's got to be muzzled all the time. You can't let it off the leash. But then how is a dog going to exercise? How can an animal be kept on a leash all the time? And that's considered humane. So, okay, drop your line again. She does the same thing. Same thing. Now, difference is, we're going to add some compulsion. So that is just a tiny vibrate.
Good girl, yeah.
Yeah.
Good girl.
Go back. So this is what I'm trying to show you guys. When it's done properly, move forward. Yeah. So now, Mr. Thomas, come closer. The dog was not listening at all. We saw that. You see? She would have gone in, call her back with a stim, The dog isn't dead.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Good girl.
Now, you could see the
good girl.
mixture here. That wasn't just a negative, that was educational because there was a positive there. So we show her that when you disobey us, there's a consequence. When you comply, there is positive. There's no gray areas here. It's black and white. And what's happened now, the same dog that was just rushing off, so come right to the fence. Watch this now. Use a verbal recall.
Here.
No e-collar. So still haven't learned. Where are we? Just on 8, but we're not even going to use that. It's on vibrate. Press a vibrate.
Here.
We're not even going to use the stim. We're just going to use the vibrate again as an educational point. Now, Mr. Tomas, move across over there. And, you know, tap, tap. Tap, tap. Yep. There, very quickly, we start to break.
Good.
And that's it. The dog's tails. So now what I would apply is this, is that, there we go. There we go.
Good girl. Hello.
The main thing now is proximity, right? So we still have to be able to control the dog. And this is where the wireless system helps so much to quickly educate a young dog to stop the boisterous behavior so the dog can live a better life, a life that allows her to be able to run in parks and play with other dogs that are a-neutral with other dogs that will not, you know, try and fight other dogs. You know, rough play is the very most that we tolerate. All right, so come in. So both with a, so start to caution her already. Yep, give her a pre-communication with the vibrate. Yep. Now drop your line. Pull her back and walk backwards.
Here.
There we go. There we go.
Here.
Every time there's a consequence. There we go. And then so this is what we're looking at proximity-wise. And at a very early age, there we go. Come a little bit closer.
Here.
Come a little bit closer, Mr. Tomas, yep. And my job is to educate her right now that you can't just rush on to other people's dogs. Good. Give her lots of praise. She's doing well. The desire is big. You know, and then you can start cueing certain words. There we go. So Mr. Tomas, come in. Now we can use free as a release marker or go play or whatever it is. Now you release her. Yeah. So now allow them to go near each other. Let's see how she plays. Yeah. She's licking.
Good.
And that's good. One thing I've observed from when people come to us with dogs that are exhibiting dog aggression, a lot of this behavior started very early on, and it wasn't dealt with properly. And this is why we, put this process in place to stop from the early stages this type of outrageous behavior. Pull her back now. And again, get closer and do the same thing. There we go. You can see the benefits. You know, there will not be so many dogs in rescue if these processes were implemented for dogs that needed it, you know. She's learned a really good lesson. What we want to do is not about her going to play with dogs. It's about when we assess the risk and we tell her enough is enough, she listens. Okay, so get really close, guys, and walk around together.
Good girl.
Yeah. Well,
Good.
good. You see how she's snapping? If that's another dog?
Good.
Yeah. And it's about, we're really educating her now on how to play nicely. It's so important. You know, there might be a million and one ways. This is fast and it's effective.
Good.
And I know if we did this every day for a week alone, you know, you'll have a really well-structured animal. You know, people they don't have the time, they can't afford a bunch of lessons that will cost them more and more. If you can get to the jugular of the issue, the head of the concern, and cut that off, and give the result to the dog and the owner happy days. This is what we're talking about now. Beautiful. Period of education, and some people say, oh, you know, there was punishment. I look at it as education to allow her to live a much more enriched and fulfilled life. For me, in my opinion, animal welfare is more of a concern for me when a dog has to wear a muzzle everywhere, when a dog is not allowed to interact with other dogs, and where a dog is not allowed to be off leash. This to me is not animal welfare at all.